will now start session 3. The topic for session 3 is youth converting electoral democracy into participatory democracy through RTI, the most potent weapon. May I call the chairperson of this session, Ms. Pooja Bhupati from Don Bosco College. I also invite the speakers of the session, Ms. Bhavana Patil, Ms. Gautami Sawant, Melbourne Rodriguez, Sandeep Kumar Mishra, to please come to the dais.
Hello everybody, I am Pooja Bhupati from Don Bosco's. I welcome you all to the third session of the day. The topic for today is youth converting electoral democracy into participatory democracy through RTI, the most potent weapon. I request Gautami Sawant from GVMs to give your viewpoints first.
Good afternoon everybody. I am Gautami Sawant from GVMs College. I am here to talk on youth converting electoral democracy into participatory democracy through RTI, the most potent weapon. E-democracy is the use of information and communication technologies as strategies by democratic sectors within the political process of local communities, states, nations, and on the global stage. Democratic actors and sectors in this context includes, in order of importance, citizens or voters, political organizations, the media, elected officials, and governments. E-democracy, like democracy in its ideal form, is a direct democracy. In practical form, it has been an instantiation of more limited forms of democracy. Social networking is an emerging area for e-democracy, as well as related technological developments such as argument maps and eventually the semantic web. Another related development consists in combining the open communication of social networking with the structured communication of closed panels, including experts and or policy makers. Those are seen as important stepping stones in the maturation of the concept of e-democracy. The social networking entry point, for example, is within the citizen's environment and the engagement is on the citizen's terms. Proponents of e-government perceive government use of social networks as a medium to help government act more like the public itself. There has been much speculation about the internet's potential to facilitate the engagement of younger citizens in politics. This group of young people under the age of 35, frequently labeled generations X and Y, have been noted for their lack of political interest and activity for the last 2 decades. The younger generation is less likely to have established long-standing habits of media use and is willing to experiment with new technologies and formats. A vigorous advocate of e-democracy acknowledges widespread apathy about politics, particularly among the young, and believes that this would be reduced if it could be seen that individual political activity was effective in a fairly short term. Young adults view the benefits of new technologies as a means of gaining advantage in education, employment, and in the political realm. Younger people have ease with interest technology and are more likely than older citizens to use web-based platforms to research and assess political information. However, there is no clear consensus about the capacity of new media, including the internet and the social networking websites, to engage young people in the democratic process. There have been numerous studies and experiments conducted to evaluate the best way to encourage the involvement of youth in politics. The notion of youth e-citizenship seems to be caught between two distinct approaches, management and autonomy. The policy of targeting young people so that they can play their part can be read either as an encouragement of youth activism or an attempt to manage it. It would seem at first that defining the status of youth would be fairly easy. John Frieden, for example, constructs youth as a stage of life between childhood and adulthood, but the implications of such a transition stage are hard to measure. It is difficult to determine the proper amount of freedom youth should employ in the newly developed democratic process. Advocates of autonomous e-citizenships and proponents of managed e-citizenships have varying opinions on a wide range of ideas. For instance, autonomous e-citizens argue that despite their limited experience, youth deserve to speak for themselves or agent as their own making. On the contrary, managed e-citizens regards youth people as apprentice citizens who are in a process of transition from the immaturity of childhood to the self-possession of adulthood and are thus incapable of contributing to politics without regulation. The internet is another important issue with managed e-citizens believing young people are highly vulnerable to misinformation and misdirection. The conflict between two phases of each e-citizenship is between a view of democracy as an established and reasonably just system with which young people should be encouraged to engage, and democracy as a political as well as cultural aspiration most likely to be realized through networks in which young people engage with one another. Ultimately, strategies of assessing and influencing power are at the heart of what might first appear to be mere differences of communication styles. Thank you.
Thank you, Gautami. Now I request Melvin Rodrigues from St. Xavier's College to give her viewpoint.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melvin Rodriguez, and I am going to talk on the topic Youth Converting Electoral Democracy into Participatory Democracy through RTI, the most potent weapon. The world over, country after democratic country has recognized the need to keep their citizens informed about the way government takes the decisions. In our country, we have the RTI Act for the last 2 years. The RTI Act is a law enacted by the Parliament of India to provide for setting out the practical regime of RTI for citizens. It was passed by the Parliament on 15 June 2005 and came fully into force on 13 October 2005. The RTI Act mandates timely responses to citizens' requests for government information. It implies to also the states and the union territories of India, except the state of Jammu and Kashmir, which is covered under the state level law. Under the provision of the Act, any citizen, excluding the citizen of Jammu and Kashmir, may request information from a public authority, which is required to reply expeditiously or within 30 days. The Act also requires every public authority to computerize their records for wide dissemination and to proactively publish certain categories of information so that the citizens need minimum recourse to request for information formally. The RTI specifies that citizens have a right to request any information, take copies of documents, inspect documents, work and records, take certified samples of material of works, and obtain information in the form of printouts, floppies, tapes, videos, cassettes, or any electronic mode. Prior to the Act being passed by the Parliament, the RTI law were first successfully enacted by the state governments of Tamil Nadu and Goa in 1997, Rajasthan and Karnataka in 2000, Delhi in 2001, Maharashtra and Assam in 2002, Madhya Pradesh in 2003, and Jammu and Kashmir in 2004. Some of the state level enactments have been widely used while the Delhi RTI Act is still in force. Jammu and Kashmir has its own Right to Information Act of 2009. The failure of the Freedom of Information Act led to sustained pressure for a better national RTI enactment. The first draft of the RTI bill was presented to the Parliament on 22nd December 2004. Subsequently, more than 100 amendments to the draft bill were made before the bill was finally passed. The law is applicable to all the constitutions, authorities, including the executive, legislature, and judiciary. Any institution or body established or constituted by an act of parliament or a state legislature. Under the Act, all authorities covered must appoint their public information officer. When any person submits a request to the PIO for information in writing, it is the PIO's obligation to provide information. Further, if the request pertains to another public authority, it is the PIO's responsibility to transfer the concerned portion of the request to a PIO of the other authority within 5 days. In addition, every public authority is required to designate assistant PIO to receive RTI requests and appeals for forwarding to the PIOs of the public authority. The RTI specifies that a citizen making the request is not obliged to disclose any information except his name or contact. The Act also specifies time limit for replying to the request. If the request has been made to the PIO, the reply is within 30 days of the receipt. In case of APIO, the reply is to be given within 35 days of receipt. Increase of information concerning corruption and human rights violations by scheduled security agencies. The time limit is 45 days, but with the prior approval of the Central Information Commission. However, if life or liberty of any person is involved, the PIO is expected to reply within 48 hours. Considering that providing each and every information asked under the Act may severely jeopardize national interest, some exceptions to disclose are provided for in the Act. Information which has been expressly forbidden to be published by any court of law or tribunal, or the disclosure of which may constitute contempt of court, information, the disclosure of which could cause a breach of privilege of parliament or state legislature, information including commercial confidence, trade secrets, or intellectual property, the disclosure of which would harm the competitive position of the third party. The officer who is the head of all the information under the Act is the Central Information Commission. At the end of the year, is required to present a report of which contains the number of requests made to each public authority, the number of discussions when applicants were not given permission to access to the documents which they request, the provision of the Act under which these decisions were made, and the number of times such provisions were filed. Detail of disciplinary action taken against any officer in respect of the administration of the Act and the amount of charges collected by each public authority under the Act. Lastly, I would like to tell you about our state Goa. Goa also has a RTI Act, and many of them are using this Act as a weapon. But still, the corruption is not ending. The reason for this is the seeds of corruption are sown at a higher level, but the RTI is very strong if we use it in a proper way. Let me remind you all, we are the masters and not the servants. So let us act like masters and drive away the corruption out of Goa. Thank you.
Thank you, Melvin. Now I request Sandeep Kumar Mishra from Don Bosco College, Panjim, to give his viewpoints on the topic.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody present here, and it's very good to see that you're here to discuss something about democracy. Thank you so much for giving your time. And youth converting electoral democracy into participatory democracy. What democracy actually means? What is the term define democracy? The democracy political term defines selecting your leaders who can rule and tell you how to stay in a free state. Okay, that's good. Electoral democracy, selecting your leaders by casting a vote. But after 50 years or 66 years of independence and 50 years of corruption and failure in the government, the youth of us, of our nation, we people try to change the meaning of democracy. Electoral to participatory. Participatory democracy just doesn't mean casting your vote and yes, then giving the duties to the representative that he has to be corrupt players and he has to do his duties very good. But asking him that why he is not doing, like Anna Hazare, students we sat with him in support of Lokpal bill. That is participatory democracy. Candle march against rapes. That the best rape, which has, I believe, it has been the bomb rape of the year 16th December 2012. Candle march at Delhi. That is participatory democracy. Talking and speaking and questioning the government. Why you're not following? Why you're not doing your duties? It is participatory democracy. Okay, I've cast your vote. Why you're not? I believed in you and I've cast your vote for doing something good for me, for making a corrupt, less nation where everybody gets an equal right and equal facility. Why is not that happening? That is participatory democracy. And yes, the youth have written articles on it, used social networks, used many modes, but it is very sad to mention that it failed. The government still was unturned. There was we could not see any major change in the government. But then we got some potent weapon, as we call Ramban, that is called the RTI, the Right to Information Act. What is Right to Information Act? Right to Information Act gives you the power to question the government of its services which it's providing. If it fails, it's not a big issue. If it fails, even if supplying water to your house properly, you can question the government. That is RTI. And how many people are using RTI? I'm very new to Goa. I'm very sorry for that. I'm new to Goa. I don't really know about Goa. But Delhi, yes, local people from different places, slums, are questioning the government and why electricity, why basic needs, water, food, electricity, shelter is not being provided to them. And due to this RTI, yes, the government has to answer and is functioning a little proper than before, and that is a good news for us. So we do have a weapon, the potent weapon, what was termed as RTI. Now, how can we use RTI to change? It is not that using an RTI can bring a major change within a fortnight. No, Rome was even not built in a night. It took many years to build Rome. So to change a country that has been facing corruption for last 60 years, it will take at least 30 years to improve it. But yes, the start is here. So it's happy that we have got something called the RTI, the Right to Information Act. And we can now question the government. Social networking and everything was there. Articles, using the media channels, everything was already there. But government was not very responsible and very answerable to the questions. But RTI did give us something. So I would like request everybody to use RTI to basic needs. It's not something that you have to use it in a very diplomatic way, a very, with steps and everything. No. Even if any student is not getting the basic need of education, the proper opportunity to perform, he can use the RTI to ask the government that what is my fault, why I'm being deprived of that. That is RTI. That is what RTI gives you. The power which it gives you, the power of a nation, not by electoral but by participatory democracy, and that is what RTI is. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandeep. Now I request Dr. Ketan Goekar to give his viewpoints on the topic being discussed. The questions from the audience will be taken as soon as Mr. Ketan Goekar finishes his speech.
Good afternoon to all the students gathered here. It's really a privilege to be present here in midst of young people. Spent 25 years being with the young people in the college, and it's always been a great experience to see how young people can make a difference. First of all, before I go to highlight the presentations by the three speakers in this session, what I really liked about this session is, first of all, the organizers' very conscious attempt to bring the youth in the broader framework of RTI, which is a very welcome step. My experience in the college has been where we have large number of students. Most of them are not aware, and hardly a few of them have ever used the RTI Act. They have only heard about the RTI Act. So I think given that kind of a scenario, to have a session dedicated to participatory democracy achieved through the use of RTI Act is a really a good start to bring the youth and democracy and RTI together. I have noticed and noted the very well planned and also very well presented presentations by the three student speakers in this session. Gautami Sawant has certainly very strongly highlighted the potential of the youth in building a true participatory democracy. And I think the future being in the hands of the young people, unless the young people are involved in democracy, there cannot be any change in the way things are being run. She has also very pertinently focused on the new methods that are being available to the students and young people and how they are being used. She has very pointedly highlighted social networking sites, internet and media, which is certainly something that we all know has a tremendous impact, not only on the youth but also on the democracy. And I also appreciate her highlighting this whole new concept of e-democracy. Recently we were talking about e-governance, now we are talking about e-democracy. These are the things of the future, because whenever we talk about e-governance and e-democracy, these are ways and methods by which the citizens of today and tomorrow will be able to participate in democracy sitting at home over their internet connections, through their computers, through their laptops and through their mobile phones. So it's a very welcome sign that Gautami has certainly highlighted this, and I think it's also indicative of the youth of today being aware of these very modern methods of getting involved in democracy. She has certainly got to the very core of the issue. Melvin Rodrigues has also been very, very informative. Her presentation has been very technical and very pointed. She has spoken about many provisions of the RTI Act. As a matter of fact, I would like to put on record my appreciation of a student trying to put so many provisions before this gathering in barely 10 minutes. It's a laudable achievement, because I have been in the RTI movement for a very long time, and let me tell you, it sometimes takes a long time to convince people about the provisions of RTI Act. And she has very briefly and yet very pointedly highlighted the provisions. Of course, there's another thing of how much we really get to know. Basically, the RTI Act becomes real to us, it becomes alive to us only when we begin to use it and we begin to experience the use of that RTI Act. So the applicability of the RTI Act is very important, not just the knowledge of the provisions. However, what I certainly would appreciate, like how Ms. Rodrigues has put, that people should know the provisions of the RTI Act before even they venture out to file an application under the RTI Act. She has again very correctly highlighted the RTI as something which has got a direct link to exposing corruption. And me and my many other friends, we have been using RTI Act for last at least 5 years in Goa very strongly to expose the corruption in the government and bureaucratic circles. So RTI is certainly the best tool or the best weapon we have to expose corruption, and Melvin Rodrigues has certainly got this right. So I really feel that her presentation therefore has culminated in highlighting the use of RTI in trying to reduce corruption, if not totally eliminate. Sandeep Kumar Mishra has spoken very frankly, freely, and almost extempore. I think he spoke from his heart and he said what he believes in. And the thing that caught my attention was his whole emphasis on the democracy in action. He has tried to highlight how democracy becomes real only when we participate. And he has taken the good example of what happened in the country about a year and a half back when Anna Hazare and thousands of youth gathered together to raise issues which matter to the country. So I think Sandeep Kumar has certainly again understood and he has used the term, the potent weapon that RTI is. And then he has of course gone ahead to show how citizens have been using RTI Act in the last 6 or 7 years, and he has certainly made a case for the students to use RTI Act. Now let me tell you how students can use and how students have been using RTI Act. Most of you students who are from the colleges know that there is something called as a project work. And very often they do this project work, they have to get data, information. And some of the information has to come from government or semi-government authorities. And it's very difficult to get information. I remember a situation 7 years back when there was no RTI Act. Students used to go to the departments and they used to ask for information and they were called to come after a few days and then again after another few days, and information was never given to them. They had to literally go and beg for information. But in last 4 or 5 years, I have noticed my students, particularly those who do these projects and these various studies, they have been using RTI Act very effectively. They have been going to the government departments and instead of asking questions like they did in the yesteryears, now they simply file one RTI application and generally within 30 days they get the information. That's a very welcome sign because the youth and the students have begun to use and have realized the great value and worth of this RTI. One of the things that Barack Obama said immediately after he became President of America, not long ago, about I think 3 years or 3.5 years back, during his very first year, when he spoke about India, he said that the greatest thing that he appreciates about India is this landmark legislation called RTI Act. If the American president can talk highly about RTI Act of India, and that too a man of the caliber of Barack Obama, I think we should all sit up and take note that we truly have something which is really worth preserving and worth keeping. Recently there have been attempts to amend the RTI Act. As a matter of fact, just last month the government started the process of amending the RTI Act to take political parties out of the RTI Act. Because one commissioner in Delhi said political parties have to give information to the citizens, they are answerable to the people, they are public authorities, they have lots of money being given to them, they have to be transparent, and guess what? All political parties stood up and said, no, we don't want it. And they all ganged up together against the citizens of India. This is very recent, I'm just talking this about, this 1 month period. And they ganged up together, all parties, irrespective of their ideologies and their hatred and dislike for each other, they were all united on one point: they don't want RTI Act to apply to them. And you know the maximum corruption is very often linked to political party system. And they all got together and they proposed an amendment. Somehow, at least one party felt that this is sending a wrong message to the people of India, and while they accepted this amendment, that one political party decided to say that let us send this amendment bill to a select committee. Now when a matter goes to a select committee in the parliament, it remains hanging fire there for many years and very often it does not get passed. So the whole process has now been actually kind of forestalled, and that's a good sign because all of us want political parties to be answerable to the people of India, and they feel they are not answerable. So I think to conclude, my friends here, the citizens of today and the leaders of tomorrow have got it right, and I'm sure all of you have got it right, that RTI Act is a way forward for India to change itself, to reform itself, to reduce corruption, to make India a country of good governance and make India a truly superpower for the future, of which we would be proud about. Though today we hang our heads in shame for many things that happen in this country, right from the way women are treated, right from the way the country's resources are being looted, and so many other evils and social ills that we see. However, the glimmer of hope is RTI Act, and RTI Act can only be effective in a participatory democracy when people participate, and it's a very welcome step when you people, and as Sandeep rightly began his talk saying that it's nice to see everybody stay on and participate in this kind of topic. Generally youth, when you talk about politics, when you talk about democracy, when you talk about elections, they try to evade it, but it's a change that we are noticing now, that today's youth says no, we want to get involved and we want to make a difference, and that is going to be, according to me, the beginning of a change which we all are looking forward to. So once again, I thank the organizers for asking me to present my views, and I also put on record the very good presentations by the three speakers, and now I declare that the session is open for discussion under the chairperson of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ketan Goekar. Now the panelists will answer questions from the audience. So anybody has any questions, please ask.
Sir, I would like to ask you something. We got something in the constitution saying fundamental of expression, fundamental of opportunity. Then we had right of proper opportunity. All this faded down. So my question rises, okay, RTI is a new thing. 5 years is not a long period of time. So it's very common, we are discussing about RTI and talking and very happy about it. But will this remain in curing the nation, or it will also fade away like the other rights we got and everything?
I think the best answer I can give is, if youth like you take up the challenge of using the RTI Act and not allowing people to change or amend the RTI Act, then I am sure that down the years, as in the last 7 years, say this is the 7th year of the RTI Act, and we have noticed that a tremendous change has come in this country. I'll give one example. One of the things that now the government officers and government employees fear, which they never feared 7 years back, is somebody coming with an RTI application. You go with an RTI application, people are afraid of you, because they don't know what you're going to ask, and if they don't give it, they are going to be at the receiving end. So I feel that it will not certainly get watered down or gradually eroded. I think it will become strong, but that depends on how we fight. If youth came out with Anna Hazare to fight for a corruption-free India, and Anna Hazare is one of the greatest supporters of RTI Act. You may not be aware of the history or the earlier developments of RTI Act. Anna Hazare has been very much instrumental in pushing forward the RTI movement. And Goa has been one of those states, as you have rightly pointed out, that took the initial initiative in supporting the RTI movement. Actually, we had an act before RTI Act in Goa. called as GRIA, Goa Right to Information Act. And it was, I think, 1997, there around. And we used to use that act that time, and there was no RTI Act in India. So actually the RTI movement and RTI Act have been improving. And I feel it will go on. If you fear that this is going to get gradually like many other laws which get wiped out, like we have something called as no smoking, prohibition to smoke and what, so many, prohibition for drinking and all, and nothing happens to those acts. But RTI is one act which is very citizen friendly. Anyone and everyone can use it. I tell you, some days back somebody asked me to use RTI Act, what is the age? Can you tell me what is the age for using the RTI Act? Somebody told me 18 years. There is no age. Even a 5-year-old can ask for information. And somebody can put it in writing. So it's for every citizen. But I think that's a great act. We have to actually fight to protect it. You will be surprised that in last 7 years, the RTI activists all over India have got together not to allow government to tamper with the act. Every time government tries to amend the act, people, that is citizens and activists, have objected. And government has been trying to water it down. And recently they tried. But as I told you, that one of the parties realized that if we do this, we have no face to go before people of India. So they are going slow on it. And let's hope that they abandon that and we can ask information from the political parties. How much money are they getting? Who's giving them the money? What kind of money is it? Is it black money or white money? Should we not know? Where is that money used? Nobody knows right now. Nobody is answerable. And that's why corruption is only increasing. So I hope I can answer your question in the positive, saying that I am sure RTI Act is not going to go down the drain. It will certainly help the citizens of India and people like you and me to fight back and get our rights back, as you have said. Those rights we can now get through the RTI Act. Actually, RTI Act is part of the fundamental right to freedom of expression, because Supreme Court said if you have to speak, if you have to express, there is a precondition, you must know. So if only when you know you can say. That's how the fundamental right to freedom of expression includes the right to know. So it's a fundamental right. And that's how the Supreme Court has been saying it right from the early 90s, and now it has become a law. Okay.
So I want to know, when was this law actually passed? Like, from when this RTI law actually?
No, actually there's a big history behind this law. You'll be surprised that RTI movement was started not by educated people. It was started by farmers in Rajasthan who wanted to know some facts from the local government, who were not giving them the information, how the money was being spent and all that. So they actually, the farmers of Rajasthan began to first come together and fight for this Mahiti ka Hak, don't want to know. But soon Tamil Nadu, Goa and other states began to make it into a formal act. And they were all very, very, kind of rudimentary acts. Nobody knew really how to go about, but everybody was trying. And I remember somewhere in 94, 95, there was a meeting and Pratap Singh Rane was the chief minister, and the media people and some of us were called, and Goa government wanted to be one of the first to start that. As a matter of fact, Goa has a history of one of the earliest states, as a matter of second state in India, to start the RTI Act. So the RTI Acts in India have come from the bottom. They have come from the grassroots. They were demanded by ordinary people, by farmers. Then they were taken up by media people. Then the state governments began to gradually give them, and finally our national government agreed. So the central government agreed only in around 2000. First they made one very watered down version of the RTI Act called as Right to Freedom of Information Act, which was really not a right. It was a watered down, and it was rejected by people of India. They said, we don't want that act. We want a proper right to act. and therefore in 2004 they came out with a proper, and they withdrew the earlier one and they gave in 2004 a proper act, which was passed in 2005, and we are using that since that time. Most of you don't know the fear that RTI puts in people. RTI Act today has become such a weapon that any citizen who uses RTI Act is feared by government officers. Almost all government officers now are very cautious when they take any decision. So, and in Goa of course there's a longer history, right from 97. So in Goa they are much more aware. Goa has a more awareness about RTI Act compared to other parts of India. So I think you as students should go into the history. I don't want to go into the history here, but the history goes back to almost 20 years now in India. 20 years, but the actual act came only in 2005. But in Goa we had it much earlier, and we have been using it in Goa, but in Goa the act was not very well managed, because it was just a starting time, it was just a beginning. And today we have a much better act, and we are all quite happy about it, though we want it to be improved further. And the other side, the bureaucrats, including Prime Minister of India, you'll be surprised that Prime Minister of India is not very happy with RTI Act. Manmohan Singh is not very happy with RTI Act. But to the great joy and happiness of people of India, Sonia Gandhi has been supporting the RTI Act. And there is a complete, often difference of opinion among these two people. They are from the same party, they are the top people in the governance in India, and yet they have different perspective or different perceptions about RTI Act. If you ask government people, they don't like RTI Act. I'll give one example. One officer whom I had filed an RTI Act many years back was very angry with me, and he used to never give information, used to refuse. He was a PIO. And then after about a year or two, I found him in the RTI Commissioner's office at Pato. Same person was there. I thought he has come as a PIO. He was sitting next to me and his name was called out. I saw his name as a citizen. And I asked him more. He said, no, I applied for information to some government department because he has built a house somewhere in some panchayat area. Some license was not given. Now he's a government officer, PIO in one government department. And then he applies for information from some panchayat, asking information about his house, and that PIO is not giving him information. So I told him, now how do you feel? So he said, now I realize that I as a PIO should have been giving people information. I said, yes, it's only when you give information, you can demand information. If you don't want to give information, you cannot ask information. So we all have to be willing to be open, the government servants, the PIOs, the citizens have to be transparent. Then only this country will progress. Then only there will be truly participative democracy.
What can be the penalties? What can be the penalties if the information proves to be false?
Information given by PIO proves to be false. What is the penalty? Actually, it's a long process. The penalty on the paper in the provisions is 250 rupees. 250 rupees. On the RTI provisions, it is given as 250 rupees per day. After the 30th day, if the information is not given, if the information is incomplete, if the information is misleading, if the information is evasive, many reasons are given. But to come to that level of penalty, there is a big process. That process sometimes takes 1 to 2 years. And right now it is taking longer time because in Goa, the Information Commission is not functioning for past more than a year. There is no Information Commission in Goa. Only the Information Commission has got the power to impose the penalty on a PIO who has not given the information, who has given misleading information, incomplete information and so on. So what happens is, after you have got your information, if it goes beyond 30 days, not given, you can file an appeal. If it is given before 30 days, but not given completely, or wrong information or false information is given to you, you have to file an appeal before the first appellate authority. That is the immediate boss there. They don't help you much. Because who is he? He is the PIO's next boss. And very often they are hand in glove. They don't help. So they will say, no, correctly you have been given information. Then you have to go to the second appeal. Second appeal is to the Information Commissioner. Now there, you have to show that information has not been given to you, or that information is false or fabricated or whatever. Once you prove that, then the Information Commissioner will impose the penalty. The penalty cannot cross more than 25,000 rupees. The penalty is to be recovered from the salary of the PIO. And the discretion to impose the penalty, how much? 2,000, 5,000, 15,000, 25,000, and also depending on the delay, the commissioner will impose the penalty. So these are the things that you learn when you get into it. Advice to everybody would be, first start off with an application, put an application, then you'll realize what happens. Once you put an application, mostly for your personal matters, start your personal, whatever issue, some letter has not been replied by government, something has not been done, there is problem in your locality, start with an RTI application. And then you will find, when you are a new person, they play with you. They play with you because the PIOs know that you are new, you don't know RTI Act, they will give you all kinds of rubbish answers or not give at all. Then you approach people like us, we have an RTI forum in Goa, we have many RTI activists, we guide you. And we do it for free, we do it very willingly because we want every citizen to be empowered. So if you come to us, we help you how to go about to the next level. And we even go and argue. So some people, they are not able to argue, they cannot afford a lawyer. You don't need a lawyer. Actually we are not lawyers. But we go and argue till the commission. And then we go to the High Court also and argue. And we win. That's because this is a citizen's right. That's because this law is for citizens. So, the penalty part is a way to frighten these PIOs or government bureaucrats to give the information. Otherwise, they will never give us information. But there are cases where information has not been given, let me tell you, and the PIO has told the commissioner, fine me 25,000 I am paying right now. Because information is not given about big properties worth crores. What is 25,000? So that also happens. But most of them are afraid. Few are there who are willing to go to any extent and not give you information. But we know how to corner them. That you will learn gradually. There are a lot of ways in which we corner them to get information. So you have to start. Have you put an application?
No, sir.
Okay. So you.
I just wanted to know.
Yeah. So you start. You got some issue, I'm sure, with government, your friends, your relatives, yourself. Some issue. Take it up under RTI Act. Only caution is that in RTI Act, you should not ask for questions like you cannot ask how, why. These two questions are not entertained. Very often people say, why did you do it? Why you did not do that? No, that is not RTI Act. RTI Act has to be used in a very smart manner. You have to ask information which is available on the governments or departments or some other public authorities' records. Ask for copies. Study those copies of letters, of those documents, of those files and notings, and you will be able to catch them. What people do, they ask, is there corruption in your department? They simply say, question does not come under RTI, and you get angry. You don't catch corruption by asking people, is there corruption in your department? What do? You ask all the documents. You ask, okay, there is a tender, there is a contract, there is this, ask all the, or some appointment, ask the person's qualification, you come to know person is not qualified, tenders are not proper, that is a proof of corruption. Then you file a police complaint. We have used RTI to file hundreds of police complaints against ministers and chief ministers also. Because when you have proof, you don't have to fear. You can go and file a police complaint. Of course, police do nothing. Why they don't do anything? Because their bosses are the ministers. They don't do anything. But But you can use this information which comes from RTI for strengthening our democracy and for sending a message to the corrupt people. Look, we have got this information. Nowadays, many of them are afraid because you have the information. Many people say, what do I do with information? Sometimes you just take information and keep with you. Don't do anything. They are afraid. Why? Information has gone out. They are afraid. Now what will you do with that information? They don't know. That itself is a great power for a citizen. Take information about corrupt people, keep it with you. They will stop being corrupt. They will be afraid to be corrupt because they know information has gone out. And if you want, you can use it and file complaints, file police cases. If you got time and if you got energy, you can do that as well. But get the information in your hand and power will be in your hand. That is what we have experienced. So I hope I have answered your question.
If the Right to Information Act is taken intentionally to trouble someone, to trouble PIO, then what? Or I like to put this in another way. If the someone want to misuse this Right to Information Act, then what?
A knife.
Both.
It all depends how you use it. You can use it for something very positive, to cut vegetables, to cook food, or you can use it to harm somebody. RTI Act is a knife. How you use it, whether you use it to cut out corruption or whether you use it to target PIO, both uses are possible and people are doing it also.
That's why I have put it in another way also, that it can be misused.
Yes, what cannot be misused? Every act can be misused. The thing is, it is up to us. We should not misuse it. Now that's why I gave you the example of this one PIO who was misusing the RTI Act as a PIO. Then when he became a citizen, he realized that now they are misusing the act against him. Both ways. Misuse not only against PIO. PIOs also misuse RTI Act against citizens by giving you false information and rati information. One day they gave me I asked for information from electricity department. They sent me a letter within 5 days. Come and pay 9,000 rupees and take the information. I was shocked. 9,000 rupees, I have not, what information? 9,000 rupees would mean 4,500 pages. And I have never asked this much information. They wanted to frighten me. They wanted to make sure that I don't know. So what we do under RTI Act, we always put one last line, and this is for everybody who wants to use the RTI Act. Last line in your RTI application should be, please permit or allow inspection of all documents. Otherwise what they do, they will Xerox anything and everything and keep it ready. Come and take it, bring one truck and take it, they'll say. Pay the money and take it. What we do, we are smarter. They misuse it, so we know how to stop that. What we do, we say, okay, I want to see whether the information you have given is correct. So we inspect it, and only what we want we take. They cannot force us to take. Just 8 days back, one PIO tells me that you have to take the information. I said, no, I don't have to take the information. If you apply for information, should you take it? Yes or no? Is it compulsory for you to take it or no? Please answer. No. It is not compulsory for you to take it. That is the problem. What the PIOs think, if you ask information, you must come and take it. That's why it's a citizen-friendly act. Very often we ask information. Just because we ask information, they put everything in order. Everything is put in proper shape. Then they wait for us. We don't go. What has happened? That department has come in shape. Then suddenly after 2-3 months we ask the same information. We go there and say, give me the information now. Meanwhile what they have done? They have misplaced. Now why the RTI Act is there? To make everything should be in proper all the time. If all the information is there, they can give it to you anytime. As a matter of fact, it is not required to be given. Under the RTI Act, there is section 4(1)(b). I don't know how many of you all have looked at the RTI Act. 3 people have spoken here. Is there anybody in the audience who has read the RTI Act? Please put up your hand if at least one person has looked at the RTI Act. Okay. Madam, have you come across this section 4(1)(b)?
Yes.
What is it about? You can recall? What is it about?
Straight away I come.
Yeah, okay, I'll tell you. Now this is for everybody to know. Section 4(1)(b) of the RTI Act says every government department, every government authority must keep all information ready. Number one, information should be ready with them. What they do, when you write an application, they hunt for information. They are not supposed to do that. RTI says they should be ready. They were given 100 days. They were given a period initially that they had to keep it ready within so many those days. That period is over long back. They have not prepared. Number two, section 4(1)(b) says what all information they have to keep ready. Normal information that we all want, like appointments, documents, list of files, all this has to be kept ready. So if you get a chance, go to the internet or go and pick up a copy of 5 or 10 rupees at Government Printing Press, RTI Act, and you will get section 4(1)(b). It says all this information has to be kept ready for citizens. Whenever they ask, none of these people keep it ready. And the third thing that 4(1)(b) says is that this information must be uploaded on the internet. And here the student speakers have very strongly pointed out the impact of media, the impact of internet, social networking sites, and young people today are on all these various advanced media, and they should be able to access that information directly from internet, but none of these people are putting it on internet. So section 4(1)(b) requires them to do it, but they don't do it. So what happens? We ask. Once we ask, they start running. Then they think that information has to be kept ready. The RTI Act is so good that every department is supposed to keep it ready, and it should be also put up on their website. You go to their website, 99% of the websites are not functioning. And remaining 1% are outdated. I often check one website. It's called PMO's website. You know PMO? Prime Minister's Office. I keep checking that because that is one of the best websites in the country. They keep on updating regularly. Maybe because the Prime Minister of India. I keep checking. That is among those 1% websites which are really very well maintained. But most other websites, they are not operating. They are not open. Links will not open. Information is 3 years, 4 years old. Everything is just frozen there. Then we ask under RTI. So RTI Act therefore does not demand that if we ask for information, you have to take it. Now this PIO called up 10 days back and telling me, you better, this is the word, you better come and take your information. Imagine PIO threatening a citizen, you better come and take the information. So I went to this PIO and I said, I don't want to take the information. Then why did you apply for information? Now one good thing about RTI Act, do you have to give a reason when you apply for information? No reason required. Simply ask. Because it is our right. No, people don't know this. You simply ask. They are supposed to give it to you. Why they are supposed to give it to you? They are our servants. Servants in a democracy means they are serving us, the people of India. We have a right to know. And they have a duty to give it to us. They cannot ask us why you are asking. They cannot ask us. And very often people get scared. They run away. Next time they don't go. Many of these people, they have found these ways to frighten people. So we are there. We have RTI forum in Goa. We have got RTI clubs in Goa. And many activists are there who are willing to help you. If you need help, please feel free to contact even our Mr. Arjun is here and he knows all those people. So if you all can even go through the International Center. International Center has been one of those organizations which has been in the forefront of the RTI movement in Goa. They have been encouraging RTI activities in this premises. They have been actively participating and helping us. So therefore there are many people you can take help from. I hope that answers the question. Anything else?
With regards to RTI, there is no problem at all. But there have been cases where the RTI activists are targeted by the government Okay, so what is the solution? And I hope with regards to the Whistleblower Protection Act, it is still not been passed, and I don't think, even if it is passed, I don't think that it will get properly implemented. So what is the solution?
Which act you said? Not passed?
Whistleblower Protection.
Okay, whistleblower protection. Goa is one of the safest place for RTI activists. Other states of India, including Maharashtra, Gujarat, UP, and many other parts of India have been very, very dangerous for RTI activists. RTI activists have not only been threatened, but murdered. Many RTI activists have been killed, including ladies, in several parts of India because they've been asking information. And who are the people who have been targeting them? Are the people who are crooked, who are doing all this golmaal or whatever corruption, so they have been targeting. But fortunately in Goa, RTI activists are very, very safe. There have been no attacks on RTI activists except once. One instance we had where RTI activists were stoned in Margao. Where there was a small meeting called and some people came and stoned the RTI activists because the subject of discussion was mining. And you know in Goa, mining is a very, very sensitive issue. But otherwise there have been no major issues. But that was also, nobody was injured, nothing happened really. But it is true that RTI activists are often threatened, their lives are endangered, and if you become an RTI activist, you have to be prepared to face such targeting. But you also become very well known. You also get to be feared. People fear RTI activists also. But then you never know what extent they may go to also eliminate or frighten a person. So there are cases. Now coming to your second question of the Whistleblowers Protection Act. What is Whistleblowers Protection Act? Whistleblower is a person who is working in a government department and who complains against his own department or her own department saying corruption is going on. Now if you do that, normally the government department, other people will pounce on you and put you in trouble. They will suspend you, they will issue you memos, terminate you, transfer you, all kinds of things they do. Because you are telling what is going on in the department. Now that Whistleblowers Act is meant to protect people from such government departments, from such action, and also protect their identity. Protect their identity so that nobody knows who has told the information. So when information is given or some kind of facts are leaked which are regarding corruption, the name of that person is not to be disclosed. That is the Whistleblowers Protection Act. But in India we don't want to pass it. Because the moment this act is passed, there will be RTI activists inside the department. Right now, RTI activists are outside, like we are outside. We are not in the departments. Departments are all government officers and they are mostly PIOs and citizens are RTI activists. But if that act gets passed, if whistleblowers are protected, then those who are inside the department will start blowing the whistle. Blowing the whistle means pointing out to corrupt people. That's why they don't want to pass that act. Then we will be very strong citizens. Why? We are there outside to fight corruption and there are good people inside. Let me tell you, all government servants are not bad people. All government servants are not corrupt. There are very honest people in the government, but they cannot open their mouth because they are afraid. They will be targeted. Now Whistleblowers Act, if it is passed, they will be protected. But somehow in our country, such good things don't happen very easily. Then you need a Anna Hazare, you need Arvind Kejriwal, you need people or finally the youth to come out on the street. Then only these things happen. Otherwise they don't happen. So Whistleblowers Act is on the back burner. It is gone in the cold storage. And therefore, nothing really is happening from inside. Now recently, there were some IAS officers murdered. Very recently, you must have heard about this UP lady IAS officer. Correct. You have heard about her, she's become very famous as the Durga Shakti, and the name itself has carried that kind of this. This lady is an excellent IAS officer, honest, with greatest of integrity, has been exposing the sand mafia in Uttar Pradesh. What they did to her, they suspended her, harassed her. Only yesterday she has been reinstated. Yesterday. Because so many people supported her. Now there are good people also in government. We need to help them to come up. And Whistleblowers Act is meant to do that, but is not being passed. Many things are not happening in this country. They will happen one fine day, let us hope. Okay? So there is really no answer to that second part. Given that scenario, what we can do? Well, we always risk, we say, when we go out in RTI domain, sar par kafan band kar nikalte hain. We are always willing to face any consequences. We don't know what could happen. We can get hammered. But Goa is very safe. So if you want to become active in RTI field in Goa, you don't have to worry much. More the better. The more RTI people come out in Goa, the better it will be for citizens. A large number of people are doing it. Large number of people, particularly students, have started now. Many students have started putting RTI. 5 years later, they will become RTI activists because they learn the tricks. You cannot learn RTI Act from that book. You will only learn RTI Act by filing an application and fighting till the end to get that information. Then you become an expert. Then you learn all these sections automatically. You don't need a lawyer. Any other question?
Situation is under threat and risk of life. So how the youth will be not scared to take part in RTI and no, it's my life, why should I kill it if people are doing that?
I don't think I have answered to that question. What can I say? It's very sad. Yes, it is very sad. But I feel the hope lies with the youth only.
So can't we bring something like the RTI Activities Protection Act?
Who will protect the RTI activists? The police? That we are already in the hands of God. The police cannot protect, nobody can protect. RTI activists are on their own. Only if citizens come together, that's why we have something called RTI Forum in Goa. RTI Forum is made up of citizens. Anybody is welcome. All of you are welcome to come for a meeting. There is no charge. There is no any kind of formalities, major formalities. We sit together, we discuss, support each other, help each other, and then we make plans how to take the movement further. So that's the only way we citizens can be of protection to each other. Not police, not government, nobody. All of these people are against the RTI movement and RTI activists. But you don't have to be an RTI activist. When you use it for your own self, it's good enough. You automatically become an RTI activist. Use it for your own problems. And we say more the better. The more RTI you put, the more government people are under pressure to behave themselves. But we know also people will do setting by using RTI Act as a blackmailing tool. We know of some RTI, they are not activists, they are RTI blackmailers who put a RTI application and then they threaten the PIO, they threaten the head of the department that I will use this information, expose you. Otherwise, you do this thing for me. They get their work done by using this kind of tricks. There are people who are doing it, but we generally try to isolate such people. And we oppose them also because we are not in favor of such misuse of RTI Act. But these things happen. Everybody is not equally good or ethical. PIO, after suppose a penalty is imposed for not giving information, or a PIO has been found to be involved in PIO, the one who is supposed to give the information, has been found to playing with the RTI Act, then the Information Commissioner can pass an order asking his head of the department or government not only to recover the money from him, 25,000 rupees, but also take disciplinary action against that PIO, including suspension. That is possible. But government people will never do it. They don't do it. The other thing is, if you have been delayed in giving information and a penalty is imposed on PIO, Do you know where that money goes? That penalty of 25,000 rupees goes where? It goes to a fund which is used for various legal aid purpose. It does not come to you and me as citizens. That is why when you are filing a complaint or appeal, you should not only ask for penalty against PIO, you should also ask for compensation for yourself. Because the commissioner can give you compensation for being harassed by PIO. So commissioners impose a fine or a penalty on PIO, and they also impose a compensation to be given to the applicant, that is the citizen. Very often people don't ask. We tell people, suppose somebody is fighting for information for 1 year or 2 years, person should ask for compensation. And there have been commissioners who have given compensation. So that is one way you can at least, feel, of course that money won't be very big, but you feel that you have been proved right, that you are harassed. So there are various ways which you will be able to, get information and learn more, provided you start using and actually utilizing the RTI Act. Unfortunately, are there any people here who have filed an RTI Act? I asked these people, is there anybody in this whole gathering? Okay, only same lady, that's why I think she knows. Because she filed an RTI Act and she knows something about RTI Act, and she has the only one who said that she has read the RTI Act. Until and unless young people like you, teachers, educated people, prominent citizens, until you file an RTI application, you will not know what is RTI Act. Otherwise you are only talking from your hat, you are only talking academic and very superficial talk. Go and put an RTI application. Then you will see the power you have in your hand. Everybody who has become an RTI activist has become RTI activist because that person had the courage and the daring to put an application. And then they are made to fight, because no PIO is going to give you information on a platter. No PIO is going to easily give you information. He is going to give you information in a way, so easy. Every PIO is going to make it difficult for you. So you will fight. And when you are fighting, you will learn RTI Act and you will become an activist. Very often, RTI activists are the people who started with their own problems first. Yeah, any more questions? I hope I'm able to answer, because this is an entirely very fresh audience which has not experienced RTI Act in its operation or in its application. So I hope you people do it. Yeah.
Sir, RTI activist has become a fashion in Goa, and that the RTI Act is misused by political, for example, Tamalkar.
That's your personal view.
Yes.
I have no comments on that. But if RTI Act is being also misused, it will be misused by few people. But there are hundreds and thousands of people who are using RTI Act for very good work. There are people who are using RTI Act for the good of the society. So, in that sense, I look at the large number of people who are using RTI Act for positive purpose. There will always be black sheep. There will always be bad people. So that is not a thing. And if it is a fashion, I welcome the fashion. If RTI is becoming a fashion, I think we should be happy. Because that means everybody will start practicing RTI. Fashion is what? Everybody tries to follow that fashion. If RTI becomes a fashion, I'll be the happiest person, because then we will have a better governance. The government people will start realizing that every citizen is coming with an application, every citizen wants to be an RTI activist. I think our society, our governments will change. That is a good thing. About people misusing, we cannot stop them. They will automatically get exposed. Those who misuse get exposed. They will be someday, told, or even land in trouble in the courts. So misusers will not get away for long. But let's not worry about that minority of people. But you are right, there are people misusing. I agree.
So one more question. This is with regard to the fees for obtaining documents under RTI Act.
Yeah.
So whenever you require information, how much do you pay for obtaining the copies of your information? Okay.
And now see, whatever RTI Act is passed by the central government, then it is notified by the state government of Goa, and the state government of Goa has, along with the RTI Act, made something called RTI rules. Now these RTI rules apply to only state of Goa. For example, how much will be the charge for the copies? In Goa, A4 size page, A4 size, normal Xerox page, 2 rupees per Xerox copy. 2 rupees. You can ask the information also on a CD. If the information is available in the electronic form, that is if the information is available on their computers, you don't have to ask for prints. That is the cheapest way to ask information. You ask information on a CD and you can get 5,000 pages of information on a CD. And the cost you pay is only 50 rupees. So there are rates fixed, generally 2 rupees per sheet. Now if it is a bigger double size page, A3 or B4, accordingly the amount will be doubled and so on. So this is the standard rates that have been fixed by government. But if you go to the High Court and ask for information in Goa, the High Court has got different rates. High Court per page will charge I think 5 rupees. So that freedom is given to each state, but generally the rate is 2 rupees for single A4 size page and 50 rupees for a CD.
Yes, so coming back to the same question, in terms of payment, when do you pay this money? Do you pay it at the time of giving your application, or do you pay it at the end? I mean, when you are taking...
Okay, fine. First thing you do is when you give your application, it is 10 rupees processing fee you have to put. Now in Goa, there is a notification, there is a standing order. You have to put that 10 rupees stamp, court fee stamp, which you get in any stamp vendor shop, not postal stamp. 10 rupees court fee stamp, you fix it on top of your application on the first page. That's all. And you submit your application. Within 30 days, they have to write to you saying that information is ready, come and take it. And they are supposed to tell you how many pages and at the rate of 2 rupees, how much is the amount. They don't do it. First of all, they don't send you the letter, they don't tell you the correct amount and all that. Now, if it exceeds 30 days and they reply after the 30 days are over, you are not required to pay even 1 rupee to them. Information is to be given free. It's a punishment to department, PIO and all those people who denied you information. So information has to be given within 30 days and they are supposed to write to you how much is the amount, and then you have to go to that concerned department and pay by challan or pay by cash, or they have some mode of payment. You pay the amount and then you collect the information. But you don't know when you are paying whether the information being given to you is really worthwhile or not. That is why we tell all those people who apply RTI applications, under the RTI application, put one last sentence. Please permit inspection of the files and documents. So before they give you the information, they are supposed to give you inspection. What is inspection? You go there and say, show me what you are giving me. And then you realize that okay, it's what you need, you pay the money and take the information. But if you realize it is all rubbish, because they have done it to me several times. 2,000, 3,000 pages of rubbish. You open it, you see it's of no use to you and you have to pay money for it. Why should you pay? So that time we tell them, I'm not going to pay you money, this information you are giving me is rubbish. I'm going to challenge it. So that is how the inspection helps. Always ask for inspection. Now suppose you ask for inspection. Are you supposed to take inspection? Yes or no? No. Again no. I told you first time. You ask for, apply for information. You need not take it. You are under no compulsion, under no this thing of taking that information. You don't have to fear. Nobody can do anything to you. And if anybody says you have not taken the information, we are going to kind of file some complaint or something, don't worry, you come to us. We will help you. And even for inspection, if you want, you take the inspection. If you don't want, don't take the inspection. So that is your right. Because the citizen, you have a right to ask. They cannot force you in any way. So please make sure before you pay the money, you go and see the documents. Now what happens? Sometimes they give you page number 1, 2, 3, then 10, 11, 12, then 20, 21, 22. In middle pages are missing. So when you ask them, where are these pages? At the inspection you come to know. Then they say, I can't find this, that. When you say, no, you tell me when all the pages are ready, I'll come and collect information. By the time the 30 days are over, then they have to give you information free of cost.
So
Generally we get information free.
I mean that's good, yeah. But ultimately when I go to pick up my documents, that's the time when I'll actually inspect. And if I've asked for, on a particular, I mean for some reason, right to information, say on something going on in the police department, and I've got the information which is around 10,000 pages. And after inspection, I come to know it's only 1,000 pages that I require. What about the 9,000 pages?
You did not take.
Yeah, I did not take, but isn't it a loss of government money? And how can it be?
Why it is loss of government money?
I mean, 10,000 pages in physical form. It's a waste
Who asked them to Xerox them before you check?
So what I mean is there any action that can be taken against this?
No.
So because
see, they are supposed to keep the information ready. They're supposed to show you original files. They are not supposed to Xerox and keep it ready. They are, according to 4.1b, everything should be on their website. If it is there on the website, why would you ask? All these things come. So actually what they do is they do this. They will give you junk, rubbish information. 10,000 pages and they'll tell you take. Now what happens? Next time you'll never ask for information because you'll have to pay 20,000 rupees.
So
how can
we stop this from happening? Because ultimately, like
stop whom now?
Stop the PIO from giving us wrong information, as you said.
One is inspection. You ask for inspection, say these 1,000 pages I want. Pay 2,000 rupees, take that information.
Okay.
If he says no, I can't give you 1,000 pages, you have to take all 10,000. Say please write it down and give it to me. He won't. He cannot. He will be in trouble. He will be penalized. So even if he writes and give it to you, you don't have to pay the money. You tell him, okay, you give it to me in writing. I'll take this letter and I will come with the money tomorrow. I have not brought 20,000 rupees. I'm coming tomorrow. Take the letter, go to the information commissioner, file a complaint that I am being forced, I am being threatened. That is the end of it. He will never try again. They try this, but with newcomers they try. That's why what we do, RTI activists stand by the newcomers. So if you people ever have a problem, you should contact people who have gone through it, like our one madam is here, she has gone through it. I'm sure she is having definitely some experiences which will be useful to the others. So that's how we help each other. When you learn how to handle RTI applications and information, then you help others. Because every citizen has to help other citizens. There is no other MyBab for us. Lawyers are of no use to us. We don't need lawyers. Lawyers actually know very little about RTI Act. As a matter of fact, I tell you, in Goa, RTI activists and ordinary citizens are far, far superior and better than the lawyers in Goa in RTI field. Really good. Don't go to the lawyer for RTI Act, please. RTI Act is Citizens Act. If you go to the lawyer, he will finish you. He will make sure that information never comes, will prolong it for a long time, and they themselves don't know the law properly. So please don't go to the lawyers. Come to some citizen who knows. There are many of us who are willing to help. If you ask, they guide you. And we have RTI Forum in Goa. If you approach them, there is a website also called Goa RTI Forum. Go to the internet, go to the website, put your query, answers will come, or you can call up on the phone numbers and you will be given information free of cost. I have satisfied your queries and I am always welcome. I welcome anybody who wants any information or any kind of help on RTI Act. Please feel free to call up and ask, or you can take my number from the ICJ if you require for any personal. This also we help, okay, and free of cost. That's our commitment to citizens. But we have one condition: if you come to us for help for RTI, we put one condition. We don't charge, we give our time, but we put a condition: you have to help others. When you know about RTI Act, it is your duty to help and teach others. That's the only way we can spread the knowledge of RTI Act. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now come to the end of the session.